Well, howdy, folks. How y'all is? You guys are in for a treat today. We making an old-time classic that your grandmother would have made. We making some fish Coubion. Join me, shall y'all? Now today, it's an old time Louisiana classic here. Coubion. Now here's what we're working with today. We got to make the Trinity here. So we got some peppers. We got some celery. We got some onion. And we got some green onion. We got some roux. We got some Creole seasoning. We got garlic. And we got diced tomatoes. We got some parsley, bay leaf, thyme, some rosemary, some lemon, clam juice, and some fish. Let's get started. Now, many of you know the French settled in Louisiana, and so a lot of the techniques and things they use came with them. They got crossed between the natives, people from other places like Africa, Jamaica and islands. You know, it's a melting pot of all the different cultures. Now, if you just look up this recipe, it would spell like court bouillon, or bullion. Now, the French will say it court bouillon. Okay, and we also have the Louisiana way of saying it. So I got a studio audience over here tonight. So anyway, the Louisiana way is Coubion. Okay, so how many of you guys need, or how many of you guys, one of the things you need, a court bouillon is a fish stock. Well, how many of you people have fish stock laying around your house? I know I don't. Now, if I'm doing in my industrial cooking, of course, I make fish stock out of bones and shrimp carcasses and things like that, shells and all. But I don't have that at my house. So I'm going to show you the next best way to do that. Now, any store you go to, just about any grocery store, is going to have clam juice for making clam chowder and things. So what I do is buy that concentrated clam juice there. I'm going to mix it, this bottle here, with 3 pints of water. Now we get a nice little fish stock there of sorts. Okay, so to fortify this a little bit, what I'm going to do here is add a little bit of this here chicken bouillon here, just to fortify the flavor a little bit. A couple spoons of this in there. We're going to stir that in there, and that's going to be our broth that we're working with today. All right, we got our bell peppers all chopped up there. And onion. Next thing we're gonna do here is our celery and then our parsley. Now it's time to cut out some parsley here. Alright, so we got everything just about chopped up here. I'm making a pile of paper plates. And I like doing that because it's so much more convenient for cleanup. Just as you prep, put it on a paper plate and toss it when you're done. I say we need to chop up here is going to be this here tilapia. Now a lot of people make this with catfish. Or if you're further south around the brackish waters, you would make it out of redfish or whatever you got. But today at the store we got tilapia because that's the only thing they had. So that's what we're using. So when you're out making grocery, you kind of got to go with what they got. And this, the time of this filming is the Thanksgiving Eve, so there wasn't a whole lot of selection to go on here. So these are pre-boned and skinned. So you're ready to go with these. You can go ahead and rub across them there if you want. Just make sure there ain't no bones left in there, but they're all good. So what we're gonna do is cut these into strips. Let me put this in the very end so they don't fall apart on us. But I'll show you that part when we get to it. Like so. So sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't do this, but I decided tonight we're gonna start with some bacon in here as our fat to start sauteing Trinity in here. So I'm gonna chop up some of this bacon here, about 5 or 6 slices. And this is not traditional in the actual recipe most of the time, but you will see it occasionally, and I like to put it in there, so we're gonna do it. So first things first here, we're going to go ahead and render off the fat of this bacon here and use that to saute with.
Her daughter. Oh yeah, then we made fruit salsa with cinnamon tips. That's what it was.
All right here, so we have got our bacon we pulled off, reserved off the side. We got our bacon grease in here. Now we're gonna throw our Trinity in here. We're starting off with some celery, a couple bell peppers, a couple onions, so once this here, you see the onion is starting to get translucent here, we're gonna throw some garlic in here. Minced garlic. Ooh, that's smelling good already. Bacon grease, celery, onion, and peppers. Heavenly smell. So I think we're about ready there. The onion is starting to get translucent. Now this is the top dish your grandmother put on and let it go all day on a low heat. And it was always delicious. So I'm kind of speeding up the process a little bit because I ain't got all night, but we're gonna let this go slow and low here in a minute once we get everything sauteed up. So let's go ahead and throw in 2 tablespoons there of minced garlic. We're getting close to going ahead and putting our stock or bouillon in there. Ooh, that's smelling good. What do you think, Mrs. Chef? That smell heavenly. Get your whiff of that. So good. Now I'm gonna go ahead right here and add in the rest of the seasoning herbs here. So we got some little rosemary. We'll take that big piece of parsley out. We got some chopped over here. Got some green onion. We got some bay leaf, rosemary, and thyme. Just throw that in there. Now I wish I could have found some fresh bay leaf today, but they didn't have any at the store where I make groceries. So, ooh, that smells so good. The bay leaf and all hits that, and just a whole different dynamic there. Really feel like you're at grandmother's house. So at this point here, we're going to add a stock in there. Ooh, that smells good, good, good. Now I'm also going to go ahead and add the parsley in here at this point. Ooh, that is. Wish you guys could smell this. Delicious. Next ingredient we add in here is a can of petite diced tomatoes. Now it's really your preference. Some people put tomato paste, some people put tomato sauce, some people put stewed tomato. It's really your preference. Like my grandfather used stewed tomato and my grandmother used diced tomato. It don't matter, it's your preference. Here we go. Oh, that smells so damn good. Now what I have here next going in is about a couple of tablespoons there of Creole seasoning. This is not the salty kind. This ain't Tony's. If you use Tony's, you use less because it's super salty. We already got some salt from our stocks. We don't want it over salted. There you go. It's more like a blackening seasoning without the salt in it. Here we go. The one I'm using here today is RL Schreiber Creole seasoning. But like I said, you can use any kind you like. Some of them are saltier than others, so just keep that in mind. That's what I got for a sample when they were trying to sell me some of this. I ended up buying some because it's pretty damn good. At this point, you're seeing some movement down here. This is about to boil. We don't want it to go ahead and boil. We want it to stay about like this. So we're going to cut the heat down to a medium heat here. Medium high heat. We're going to let all them flavors kind of marry together in there for about 30 minutes. And then we're going to come back and finish up this dish. So this here is a timeless classic. Unfortunately, the kids this day's generation, they don't know about fish stew. They think that fish is in a McFish sandwich. It's unfortunate. Now time for the age-old question, the difference between Creole and Cajun. Now this is disputed vigorously between communities and things. Pretty much it's crossover, but some of the things you'll notice is that Creole food tends to use more tomatoes than Cajun food. And Creole food is more city food, and Cajun food is more country food, fried and all. So there's some variations, but a lot of it's crossed over these days. There's not really the huge difference in the types of cuisine as there was years ago. Products are available all year round now, and people in the country and people in the city both have availability of the same products. So there you go. Well, we're getting pretty close to being able to add the roux in here and thicken this up a bit. And one thing I like to do before then is add a little spice to it. Now, I'm out of the regular Tabasco, just ran out. So I got the green here with the jalapeno and the chipotle, the smoked jalapeno. But I don't want the smoky flavor. I already got the green bells now with the Trinity, so I don't really want that fresh jalapeno taste. So I'm gonna go with Frank's, next best thing. Now, I would much rather be using Crystal or Tabasco, but I ain't got it. So we're gonna put a little Frank's in here. This is Mrs. Shell's favorite, Frank's. She puts that shit on everything. Yeah, just kick it up a little notch. Yeah, give it a little spice kick on the backside. So what we're using for our roux today is we're using a powdered mix here of Tony's Satchers. Satchers here. Roux. Now this has salt in it, so you got to be careful that you don't get your stuff over salted. That's why we're careful on the salt earlier. You can make your own roux. It's not hard to make. It's just butter, oil, and flour until it gets brown. Make sure you don't burn it. That's why I'm showing y'all a method of using a powdered roux so that you don't burn your roux, because that can really set an off taste. If you don't know what you're doing, you overcook the roux, Makes it really bitter. So I'm showing y'all a version you can't screw up. What this does here is going to make it a little thick, so it's not quite as brothy. Let this heat back up a little bit. Don't put too much at one time. You get like a big blob in there. You don't want a blob. It activates when it hits the heat there. It's looking pretty good. Maybe just add a little bit more. There we go. We're almost ready to drop our fish in there. So you see there, we're getting about the consistency there of gumbo. That's what we're looking for. Now it's time we can drop our fish in there. And like I said, you can use whatever fish you have available. Whatever you like. There's no set fish you got to use. At this point, cut your heat off so you don't bust up your fish. The radiant heat there is going to go ahead and cook your fish. The fish don't take about 2 minutes to cook in there. Or you can eat it raw like sushi if you want, but I wouldn't do that with tilapia. Well, I almost forgot. One last thing here. We dropped a fish in just now. That bacon we rendered off earlier to get the fat we needed to saute the Trinity there. Put that bacon back in there. I tell you what, from the looks of things, it's about time to eat. Looky there, looky there. Does that look good? We got here's a bowl of rice here. Gonna spoon some of that good fish and stuff up on there. All them vegetables there like so. Take and get a bunch of this broth here. Get a little more of that broth here. There we go. Ooh, don't that look good? And there you have it. Coubion. Cheers, everybody. So damn good. Especially on a cold day. That was delicious. Nose kind of running from the heat, but delicious. Well, thanks for joining me. Glad you stopped by, and stay tuned for another episode. You can check me out if you subscribe below. We'll see you next time.